Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant. I'm back with another video, back with another reaction, and I'm going to watch this video. It says, why did Yugoslavia collapse? And I do know that this video is going to have some kind of historical context and also political context to it. But I've noticed that a lot of people in my comment section talk about the time, and a lot of them lived through that time. So what I really want is to get those people to say, what was it like living there through it? If your grandparents lived through it and they have stories, some of you have lived through it and you have stories, or parents lived through it and have stories and stuff like that. That's what I want to deal with, the humanity of it, because the political side of it usually takes out the humanity side of it, and everybody's fighting and everybody's arguing. So I want to know, what was it like living through those times? You know what I mean? Because I want to get more into that as a video roll. Let's go ahead and you two and simmer and see what's got to be said here. What's going to be said, I should say.
Yugoslavia. For many, a long-forgotten, failed nation. For others, an all-too painful and recent memory. A once-united federation made up of 6 neighboring republics, Yugoslavia's existence was never a simple one. With constant ethnic and religious division, it seemed that it was only a matter of time before a breakup would be imminent. But was that the only cause of Yugoslavia's collapse? And how did the ethnic disputes actually lead to the destruction of an entire federation? The presence of division and discord between the different ethnic groups within the borders of Yugoslavia had existed for a long while. This was not by any means a new development within the years before the collapse of the federation, but the matter did worsen following World War II. Previously, Yugoslavia had actually been the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. This kingdom was then transformed temporarily into the Democratic Federal Yugoslavia, and shortly after, the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Before the expansion of republics and particular ethnic groups within Yugoslavia, there was already significant disunity between the Serbs and other ethnic categories, which served as a shaky foundation from the start. While nationalism was a raging problem within the Federation from day one, there was a short stint of partial harmony, thanks to President Josip Broz Tito. Tito was a wonderful promoter of unity and brotherhood, and his efforts to curb the dangerous nationalism within his federation was impressively effective for some time. Moreover, during Tito's term as president, Yugoslavia became a regionally powerful nation industrially and had a well-effective economy. It appeared that the troubles of Yugoslavia were a thing of the past, until Josip Tito died. Leading up to the president's death, the growing economy had begun to show favor to only some regions within the Federation, and though Tito supported brotherhood, it appeared he may have gone too far to support the individual republic's right to national self-determination. The end of Tito's administration also came around the time of economic trouble for the Federation as a whole. Yugoslavia was now heavily in debt after the 1973 oil crisis and trade barrier complications with the West, which quickly reversed the success that the Federation's economy had originally achieved. This also exacerbated the ethnic divisions, most notably between the south of the Federation, which was viewed as vastly unproductive and undeveloped, and the entities of Slovenia and Croatia. With these new challenges and the death of the president who had worked hard to create unity within the Federation, the ethnic divide was now the center point of Yugoslavia. One of the main causes of this was the fact that each republic failed to split along ethnic lines, meaning that there were different groups within each border, and oftentimes each ethnic group was quite nationalistic. Furthermore, there was also the creation of two autonomous provinces within Serbia itself, known as Kosovo and Vojvodina, that complicated matters even more. When protests broke out in the late 1980s, as ethnic Serbs throughout Serbia and the autonomous provinces tried to fight back against particularly the Albanian majority of Kosovo, the thought was that Serbia's communist leader, Slobodan Milosevic, would react by creating some type of unity. Instead, he justified the Serbs' outrage directed at the Albanians and began to push for reduced autonomy of both Kosovo and Vojvodina. Eventually, after a series of protests known as the Rallies of Truth, supporters of Milosevic managed to oust the governments in both autonomous provinces, which then cleared the way for the allies of Milosevic to be put into their places. The leadership of Montenegro was also deposed in 1989 after a second coup d'etat, and there too was placed a supporter of the former ruler. This was only the beginning of the conflict between the Serbs.
Now, here's the thing, man. All of this is happening in 79, 80. Around that time, which stuff was happening on my little island too. 79, we had a revolution, all the way up till 83, when there was a coup d'etat there too. You know what I mean? Where, the military, the deputy prime minister took over the country, and the military went in there and ended the existence of the previous prime minister. You know what I'm saying? So now I understand more why I probably wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to what was going on there, because we were in the middle of our own turmoil at the same time. And
Serbs and the Albanians. Croatia and Slovenia were now joining the Kosovo dispute, coming to the support of the Albanian majority, which greatly angered the Serbs. Protests continued to be held, and both police and military forces were called in to deal with what the Serbs viewed as an attack against Serbia and Yugoslavia as a whole, mostly in reaction to Kosovo's calls to become the seventh republic within the federation. One Bosnian politician and current president of Yugoslavia, Raif Dizdarovic, tried to calm the tensions in 1989 with a heartfelt speech to the Serbian protesters. "Our fathers died to create Yugoslavia. We will not go down the road to national conflict. We will take the path of brotherhood and unity," he said. Though the protesters reacted to his speech positively, it failed to end the protests, likely given the facts that the Serbs saw the actions of the Kosovo Albanians as the root of this national conflict. The lines were now clear. It was the Serbs against the Albanians, Croats, Slovenes, and even the leaders of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The conflict was nowhere near over. As the bickering republics aimed to resolve the disputes politically, the divide only seemed to widen, and Yugoslavia was forced into a multi-party system across all 6 republics. This was a major blow to the communists in the Federation, as most of them were beaten by the end of the 1990 elections. The fall of communism coincided with the same decline throughout the Soviet Union and its other allies, and pushed the nationalistic identity within the Yugoslav Federation even further. This sparked even more ethnic tension, because there were minorities within each republic, such as the 12.2% of Serbs in Croatia that were suddenly being threatened by their home's oppositions to their ethnic identity. In this specific instance, the new Croatian leader Franjo Tudjman claimed that he would protect the Croatian people from Milosevic and the Serbian threat, which created backlash from the ethnic Serbs in Croatia. These Serbs established a new separatist organization in which they demanded to be reunified with Serbia in the case of Croatian secession from the Federation. This soon triggered what was nicknamed the Log Revolution, where Serbs in Croatia attempted to take control of the Serbian majority town of Kin and appealed to the federal military for support. When Croatian helicopters filled with the armed special forces were sent in to quell the revolt, the Yugoslav Air Force decided to intervene and ordered the Croatian helicopters to turn back and stay away from Kin, or else they would be shot down. The Croatians followed the command and returned to their base in Zagreb. As tensions continued to boil over, a period known as the Yugoslav Wars broke out in 1991 throughout the Federation. Yugoslavia was now doomed, and the efforts that had been made by dominant Serbia and any other supporters of the Union were now appearing to be completely in vain. In June of that same year, Croatia officially declared their independence, despite disapproval from other republics. This independence was delayed by 3 months through the Brijuni Agreement, but was nonetheless imminent. Macedonia declared independence in September of the same year. On January 9, 1992, the Republic of Serbian People of Bosnia and Herzegovina was founded, and Bosnia and Herzegovina as a whole declared independence on March the 3rd. The Serbian Republic within was to follow, after which point they laid siege to the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo, sparking a new stretch of the Yugoslav Wars. All that was now left of the once 6-republic-strong federation was Serbia and Montenegro. Yugoslavia was rapidly dissolving, and there was no hope for recovery. In addition to the ethnic disputes and now full-blown wars, the effects of communism collapsing and the struggling Yugoslav economy had also contributed to the decay of the federation. Still, no factor seemed quite as obvious nor relevant as the ethnic divide. This is what led to the utter chaos within the dying Union, and what would eventually cause the official dissolution of Yugoslavia, now only made up of Serbia and Montenegro, on February 4, 2003. The federation transformed into the State Union of Serbia and Montenegro, which was no more successful or stable than its predecessor, and itself broke up on June 3, 2006.
Wow, that lasted
As
a
far
long
as the
time.
conflict with Kosovo, its autonomy and status as an independent nation continues to be debated throughout the world. Many countries, such as the United States, do recognize Kosovo as its own nation, but Serbia and its close allies beg to differ, a sign that the ethnic conflict sadly did not disappear with the dissolution of Yugoslavia itself. Each individual nation had its own strong national identity, and the inability to properly place border lines to separate each ethnic groups proved to be an untamable issue for all of Yugoslavia. In the former Yugoslavia, Croatian and Serbian were considered one language, also called Serbo-Croatian and Serbo-Croat. Today, largely because of the connection between language and national identity, there has been an effort to have Serbian and Croatian recognized as separate languages. There are certain differences between the two languages in vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Moreover, they have separate writing systems. Serbian uses both the Cyrillic and the Roman alphabets, while Croatian uses the Roman alphabet exclusively. The two languages remain mutually intelligible, with only minor dialectal variation. For that reason, some linguists refer to the two languages together with Bosnian under the single name of Bosnian Croatian Serbian. While the economic and political challenges that the Federation faced were clear exacerbating forces pushing towards a final collapse, it was truly the ethnic division and the lack of brotherhood that destroyed Yugoslavia from the inside out.
Wow. Now, I don't claim to be an expert on this. I don't know a whole lot about it. Like I said, at the same time, stuff was starting there. I was a teenager, I was late teens. We had our own things going on the island. We had like 2 revolutions in succession, and then a military action on a larger scale. There was a lot going on there. And to this day, just like there's people debating about the revolutions and who was in the right and who was in the wrong. And, I see it on Facebook today. Yeah, these days, people are like arguing about that stuff still, which is happening over there to a certain extent. So I am not watching this as an expert to take sides. I don't know what the vibe was there. What I would like to do with this video, though, is for the people who lived through it, or who have parents who lived through it, or who have grandparents that lived through it. With everything that's going on with the politics of a situation and stuff, we tend to forget the human side of it. And people would like to think that the politics and the human side is one and the same, but it's not, because we have to ask ourselves in the long run, if it's one and the same, why don't that one side actually solve situations? You know what I mean? So let's talk about the human side of it. What was it like living through that? What was it like for you day to day as you go through that? No, I can have some understanding of the humanity of it, having lived through some of things similar to that myself. So I know the confusion, I know the fear, but I also know the struggle to keep life as normal as possible as you go through it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I want to know, man. If you lived through that, what were you doing? What were you feeling as human beings? Not as political beings, but as human beings. And I think, in a way, if we pay more attention to that, then we would understand each other better and probably come to the realization that we're not that different in the way we try to survive things or handle things. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not trying to diminish anything. It's from a perspective of understanding from lived experience also. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, what was it like getting up to go to work, having dinner with your family on the weekends? What was that like? Did it feel doing it natural, knowing what's going on around you? It's the human side. That's that's what I want to know. Hope you guys learned something a little bit from it. You know what I mean? What's said here. Let's take care of each other. Let's show some love. Let's understand each other. Let us understand each other. When everything else is stripped down, boom, we're all human. And maybe people gonna say, "Oh, that's an elitist idea thinking. That's naive and stuff." But the reality is there. I'm human. You're human. They're human. This one is human. We all try to deal with things the best way we could, depending on the situation at the moment. You all have a good day. Let's take care of each other, because we all we have, really. Let's try to bring some peace to this world, okay?